Hello, Queens. Here, Marjorie from Novoqueen for the Lash Lift podcast. And today we have a really special guest. He's a cosmetic chemist, speaker, award-winning educator, owner, and director of Elleebana. Australia is in the house for the podcast. This is going to be an amazing, powerful conversation, and any lash lift artist should be really listening to this. And it's a special year for Otto Mitter career because they're celebrating Elleebana's 30-year anniversary. Woo! This is amazing. It's my age.
Well, hello, and thank you so much, Marjorie, for that introduction. That was lovely. I'm so excited to be here. This is great. You've started a Lash Lift podcast, and there's not too many people doing that around the world. And I'm super excited to obviously be part of that and share the journey that we've been on, which has been a very incredible one. We've seen a lot of things over the years. So this will be fun. It'll be a great conversation to, dive deep into the evolution of lash lift. We've got a lot to talk about here.
And first, where does it come from? Let's talk about the mystery of the history of
Mm.
lash. I've been trying to figure out answers because it's
Y-
pretty gray zones.
Yeah, it is. It is a grey zone. I've done some research on it as well. I've seen some information about there was a gentleman in Germany that created the eyelash perm. It was in the early 90s, but I don't really have the actual evidence of that. In my journey, of course, it really became huge in Asia in the early 90s. I think a lot of the Asian market obviously have quite straight eyelashes, and they're pretty fast to get onto trends and make things happen and do innovations there, as we all know. They did really, create a lot of different types of eyelash perming sort of models and formulas and things like that.
Yeah, and I was the first surprised that it started actually in the 90s. I have a hard
Yeah,
time
1990s. Yeah.
with
I
zero
think so. Yeah.
because in my head it was like 20 years ago only, but it's been more than a decade. So what I'm hearing makes sense that it will come from Asian countries, knowing their lash are straight. It comes from the hair perm, actually. So I guess someone at
Mhm.
some point thought if we can curl
Yeah.
the hair, we can curl the
Yeah.
lashes. It's totally logical. So this is great. So it
Yeah.
started there. And Elleebana started 30 years ago. How did you pop that baby?
Yes, very good question. Look, I have to, give full credit to my mother. My mother is a bit of a beauty pioneer in Australia, and she started one of the first slimming clinics and beauty schools back in the 1980s, I believe, in Australia. And she actually wrote the very first government accredited diploma of beauty therapy in Australia and created a course for the government and Australia wide. So all of the beauty therapists or aestheticians in Australia now are learning the course that my mother started. She was working long days, early mornings, late nights, and she would have clients the whole time, and I would be in the little bassinet sometimes, like underneath the massage table while she was working or doing massage or facials and things like that. And so I've grown up in this industry. She had a skincare range that she started called Elleebana. And Elleebana means peace, tranquility, and beauty in Australian Indigenous culture. We wanted, or she wanted, a very Australian name. They saw eyelash perming back in the early 90s and they went, you know what? This could go perfectly with eyelash tinting. Lash extensions wasn't a thing yet. And I knew that eyelash perming needed to be evolved a lot more than it was. Back then, we had the little sticky rods. It was very hard to separate lashes and get them in perfect position. We had lotions or solutions that were quite long in the processing, and they were in ampules, and some were coming in pump bottles, but there was, nothing there that was making it effective for the lash artist. We had a lot of people kind of complaining, saying, look, I like the result I can get from it, but it takes too long. It's not viable. I don't have enough people that want to have this service. But back in the day, so many people just found, I think, the sticking of the rods to the eyelid was fiddly. The application of the lashes to the rod was fiddly. And, it took about an hour.
The sticky roads Otto is talking about was like a self, like self-tape adhesive. So you couldn't,
Hmm.
there was no glue. It was just stick on that rod, and that rod was disposable. It was like no lash placement. You would just put the lashes, crisscross a little bit, and that would be it. There were no more playing with it.
Yeah, it was difficult to play with them. So you had to be super careful when you were doing the lash wrap.
What makes you choose that Elleebana lash lift world versus any other beauty service?
I just started really enjoying doing these services. In the beginning, I'll be honest, for me, I did question, is this the right path for me? Because I was the guy that was going out on the road, door knocking on salon doors saying, "Hey, I'm Otto. Would you like me to come in and do a demonstration for you on lash lift?" That's how we really started from the ground up. Not many people do it anymore because you've got social media, right? And you just jump online and you do a video and you kind of reach this audience and you create a lot of hype that way. But back when we were doing this, there wasn't even the internet, properly. It was just starting. I remember when we did our first website and I studied HTML coding so I could build our own website. As I evolved on that journey, I started realizing, maybe I should continue doing this. I'm pretty good at it. When I go and do these demonstrations, I seem to be getting good feedback from all the salon owners. They were saying, "You're a really good educator. You're able to explain how to do this in a great way, and we're getting great results." And, the ball just started rolling. But I questioned myself for sure, thinking, I'm a guy in this woman's world at the moment, it felt like, and is this the right place for me? There was just no other guys doing it. There was no other men in the industry back then teaching lashes and brows. So there was a lot of self-determination and perseverance, I think. The journey just continued really from there. So, that's how I kind of found myself continuing to do it because, when you find something that you can do and that you're getting good feedback from people, you resonate with that energy and basically, okay, I'm on the right path now. You constantly evolve off the energy that you're getting from your career.
I really love that answer. I think it shows a lot of vulnerability from your side. And I think everybody can relate of when you start something, there's a lot of self-doubt. You did a
Sure
hit
is.
or miss, you don't know, and you're like, why me? Am I the one to lead this? So I think it's really lovely to share that, and a lot of people can listen. Even me, when I started, I was like, do I want to make a career in this? We do have those doubts, but doubt is part of the alignment. Keep asking those questions and you're gonna have those answers, and keep going forward, keep going in the actions like you've been doing, knocking at doors. A lot of
Yeah.
people have difficulty to press send for a post on social media, but knocking at
Yeah.
the door, you need a lot of courage.
You really do.
When you started 20 years ago, have you ever thought Elleebana will be what it is today?
No. I honestly didn't. It was one of those things that, just built with time. We just had to keep continuing on that journey and making it evolve into what it is today. Yeah, I had this passion for being able to grow what we had in Australia and bring it to the world. Yeah, really had this vision to expand Elleebana overseas because we had created something very special in Australia and New Zealand. That's when I started doing some education videos. Social media started becoming a thing. I started doing some YouTubes. I started doing a bit of Facebook and then, connecting with people via social media and the internet. And then I really connected with people that were doing events. And I said, look, I'll come and I'll speak about lash lifting and tinting. And they were like, what? You'll speak about what? Oh yeah, okay, that sounds cool. No one's doing that. Yeah, that might be something different to add to this lineup. Lash extensions boomed. They did all the conferences around the world and all those events, but no one was talking about lash lifting there. And I just saw this opportunity and I went, you know what? I'm the guy from Australia that's going to go out there and just start talking about this. And the minute I jumped on stage and started doing those, people just came up to me straight away after the presentation and they said, Otto, that was amazing what you were talking about. And I wasn't on stage just talking about Elleebana. I was on stage talking about technique, lash texture, lash separation, which was something Elleebana was really synonymous with. Lotion process theory, talking about lotions and how they need to be on longer for different types of hair texture, rinsing lashes, how to reverse a lash lift, straighten the lashes again, all these things we were talking about. And it was cool. People really just started going, yeah, this is a great treatment and I want to be involved. And from there, people started distributing with Elleebana, training with us, and we certainly inspired a lot of brands and other people around the world to also create things and be involved.
I like how you shared that you've been doing every part in the business. You've been doing everything to make it happen because you get a super fast growth of Elleebana worldwide. Can you walk us through the process of developing a new product because you've been developing many innovations?
Developing a product at Elleebana really comes down to the looking at the need. How could we improve on the current situation in the industry? For us, the one shot, sachet system was one of the first to have sachets in the world because we knew that perming lotion is much more efficient when it's kept sealed and it reduces the chance of oxidation, and then the lash artist gets fresh lotion every time they're going to use the product. And we knew that that was going to be a great way to ensure that they're getting fresh lotion every time. They don't run into that issue. We have 7 factories. Developing a product, there's a lot of testing that has to go into it. So you find the right raw materials that are good quality raw materials. You get the formulation right, but then you've got to do all your stability testing, your certificates of analysis and compliance, which is a huge part of our job to make sure that every single batch of lotion that you're producing matches that certificate of analysis. So the viscosity is the same or within the limit that it should be. The pH is within the limit it should be. The appearance, the odor, everything looks right there. The microbiome, everything of it is safe to obviously use. And that's your first part of the scientific test that you have to do with every single batch that's actually produced here at Elleebana. And then you do your efficacy tests from there as well. So that is clinical trials, essentially showcasing that we're working on models, making sure that the lotions and the products work efficiently as they're supposed to. You've got your packaging and your marketing and your education and your logistics of rolling out through a worldwide distribution network. Everything has to be perfect all the way down the line with the product development, from the efficacy, clinical trials, stability, analysis, and then, of course, putting the education packages together and how that will work, for the worldwide network and all of our salon partners. It's a very long job, and I could literally sit here and talk to you about it all week. You hear a lot of people out there in the industry that say, oh, the lotions aren't working, it's a bad batch, right? We've seen that so many times. That's the biggest challenge with lash lift artists is the batch is wrong. Something's wrong with it. It's not performing well. And, that's highly unlikely with a lot of leading brands out there, because if you follow GMP guidelines and practices, it's very unlikely because all the tests have been there to show that it works. We know that hair texture is a huge thing. So anyway, I'm going on a big tangent with all of that, but that's the reality of how involved it is to create a great product in the lash lift space.
No, but I like that when you said about, I saw complaints about formula for every brand in the world. But at the
Yep.
same time, every day you see people posting with those brands having amazing
Yep.
lash with
Yes,
the same batch.
that's
So
right.
are we agreeing that it's mainly the technique?
Yes, of course. It is. And this is something I've studied deeply for 20 years now. I have hundreds of screenshots from groups, forums, people. I've been at so many events teaching education over the years, lash events and beauty events. It's technique because we're dealing with lash texture, porosity, density, that is different on every single person. The thing about lash lifting is 9 times out of 10 might get great results, and be really quite lucky, with a lot of the processing times, the general processing times that brands have to put as a guide. But all of those processing times that are on the packets or instructions are a guide. They're not, it is 6 minutes and it is 5 minutes on every single person. It always depends on the strength of the lashes and environment, technique, as to if it's going to be faster or slower in that processing time. It's a huge, huge thing that I've been researching every single time. Without fail, if somebody sends a lotion back and says it's not working, we get it to work. And that is hand on my heart, no word of a lie. It works. It's just there's challenges from time to time with application. It is not as easy as it looks. It's not as easy as watching a YouTube video and just doing the treatment and, replicating it. You might be really lucky and get great results for a lot of the time, but then you are going to hit a snag at some point when you're working with someone with very fine porous lashes or somebody that has very dense non-porous lashes, high lipid content in their lashes, their natural lashes. These things create barriers. They make it harder for the lotions to process. So it takes time.
Fields placement, we're not even talking
Yeah,
about other factors
that's
that
right.
control, but I've started to teach saying like there's a mantra that I've told myself, and that's how I've been really always looking back at my technique. And that my mantra is you can always have a curl.
Hmm.
You can always get a lift, but as people, when they start in the industry and they really follow the guidelines of the general time, but I think lash lift technician must understand that when a brand give those time, it's an average of success time, but you must sometimes goes above or beyond and break some rules. You need to be able to break the rules because we cannot give a range that is 5 to 20 minutes. Like if
Yes.
if we're gonna lose everyone if we give it too much a broad range. So it's like an average, but as you said, education is a big part of the thing. And we can also translate this to eyelash extensions, the glue. The same thing happened. The glue is not good. It's the technique. If you're a true good artist and you keep educating yourself, you're gonna learn how to control your products and not the reverse. You want to be the
Hmm.
controlling and leading your products. That's amazing that we talk about that. I think it's important to know you can always have a curl queen. Can always,
Yes.
time I'm
Yes.
obsessed. I'm like, you, my client, I'm like, you come back in a month and I'm gonna get you. There's a time that there was a bromat sodium based formula. So it was 3 to 5 minutes, super early. There was
Yep.
one client needed 9 minutes. It took me 6 months of trying until I got to 9 minutes because I couldn't believe it. It was her time. It
Yes.
was out of the
Yes.
zone. It was the only way. So those special trees that I call it.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah, that's right. My wife has a friend who has thin looking lashes, but they're super resistant.
mhm.
So they obviously have high lipid content within the lash as well. The structure of the hair, even though it looks thin, it's still resistant, glossy lashes, resistant to hair perm. And it just takes time in the process. A lot of educators around the world are now also on board with saying, hey guys, it's not just the batch. Like it really is the technique. And, for years I was saying that, and people were like, you're just saying that because you own the brand and you don't want people to, think your product doesn't work. And that was a big struggle because there wasn't as many people doing lash lifts. But now that there's more and more people doing it, more educators like yourself that are really showing how important technique is and lotion process technique is, people are starting to get it. There are different products, there are different grades of formulas. You can have fast formulations, you can have slower ones that are more cysteamine based, you can have fast ones that are cysteamine based with higher pH and mixed with thio and all sorts of things that have been going on for years. You just need to find the one that you like.
And what do you think about reusing individual sachet? Because it's not said that you
Yeah.
can use it, but can you? Let's get some popcorn out.
Of course. And the true answer is yes, of course you can reuse it if you wish. There's enough product in most sachets to do more than one treatment, right? Depending on the length of the lashes or how much product you're needing to use. But if you've got a few clients that have got very short lashes and you don't need as much product and coverage, then you're going to be able to get a few applications out of that sachet. We encourage people to use it within 24 hours, and we say, it is designed for single use. That was the whole ethos behind the system. But of course, I've had a sachet there and I've opened it and I've kept it in the fridge, and 2 weeks later I've used it and it still worked. Because perm lotion is, and hydrogen peroxide, if it's kept airtight, especially, and in the right conditions, it does have quite a good stable shelf life after opening. It's just more so, when is it going to lose its full optimum capabilities, and performance. So that's the conundrum. And I mean, now we do have a lot more methods in checking lashes and things, so we know, it's working. But what we're wanting is efficiency when we're doing these treatments, because time is money. And for every salon owner, when they've got a client coming in the door, they want to know that I'm using the optimum performance here with my products. I don't want anything slowing down with the processing. Oxidation does slow the performance down of perm lotions and hydrogen peroxide. But bottles can last 6 months, but they're usually airless pump bottles. So anything oxidizing, around the 2 week mark, we used to see with ampules, especially after 10 days, you would lose a little bit of performance there.
Yeah, and it's also technique. So if you do keep it longer than 2 weeks, let's say a month or something, keep in mind that you might have to put more time on you if you can play around the product. But is it like bad? It's just that the strength is getting lower. But beside that, there's no bomb that's gonna come out of it. Like,
No, I think a lot of these products at a high enough pH as well for stability or, keeping out any bacteria. There's also preservatives in a lot of these formulations as well. So from that standpoint, I think it's perfectly safe. It's really just
that's right.
the performance. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Next question. So we talk about the past, the present. What's about the future? Get the crystal ball? What's going on with the future of lash lift and brow lamination and all of that?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a really good question, isn't it? And I think the industry does move in circles a lot. And there is some slight changes with how those innovations come into play. But lash lifting has always followed the hair industry. It's just a natural progression because we're dealing with hair products, essentially. So, strengthening, thickening, volume, conditioning has always been on the forefront of ingredients types of trends. And we'll continue to see that always. There are a lot of brands saying it grows your lashes, when you put it on straight away. And look, and there's clinical trials with that and all that sort of thing. There's a lot of hype, with peptides in the hair industry, the lash industry, and it will always be there. But the reality is the results will vary from person to person depending on genetics and application and all sorts of things. But lash lift will continue to draw on ingredients that are good for conditioning the hair. There is a lot of research with bond repair technology that's become a lot more popular over the last decade, like things like Olaplex and Redken, brands that are using these kinds of actives. Elleebana uses an active in our region, which is a bis 4D PCA dimethicone. Sorry, a lot of ingredients going through my head at the moment. It's a proprietary blend, but it basically is used in a lot of hair products, leading hair products
Mhm.
that do help to restore disulfide bonds that haven't been reformed properly after that perming and neutralization process, because there can be some instability within the lashes in the reformation process from
Mhm.
person to person, right? You're not always going to get the perfect restoration oxidation process throughout the lashes due to a few different factors, maybe how much lotion was used, the actual internal structure of that individual's hair, things like that. So these types of ingredients that do bond repair have been quite proven to help lashes keep their structure and hair, obviously after chemical treatment. So all of that technology will continue to evolve. And then I think the other thing that is always evolving is tools and things that helps make the process easier and faster and more efficient for the technician.
Yeah, and I like how you had difficulty to switch tools. That it was
Yes.
like, oh no, I don't like it. No, it's not uncomfortable. And I think it's important for lash lift technician to keep mind open when there's new innovation, new thing. They must go out of their comfort zone because sometimes it's gonna be a really good hit, a really good win. But sometimes they're so used to the old ways of 5 years ago and they have
Yes.
to change. So I think that's important sometimes to take the time not to only do clients back to back, but sometimes have models, not paying woman coming, you can do it and test other stuff so you can always improve your techniques. So I think that's really great.
Yeah, good point. Absolutely.
I love the bond repair like Olaplex. I've been inspired
Mm,
by the hair industry because they're doing so many tests and you see long
mm,
hair. So we have like a perm product. It's kind of a Olap.
mhm.
So it's really
Yeah.
for the hair industry. We mix it with the perm before applying
Yes.
because
Yes.
every hairdresser have those potions that they mix the color with Olaplex. Like they mix multiple things before applying. So sometimes why we not doing the same for such a chemical process as perming. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so important. And we will always continue to follow the hair industry there with the new innovations. There's new patent and peptides that are coming out as well that, do have that research where it's helping hair. But it is going to always have that variance depending on the type of client you're working with, the application, and their hair texture. Will it help well on this person. Like if you're using a cysteamine based lotion or, a thio based lotion for how long, and, all these things, it's like a puzzle that you kind of have to put together. When you get it right, it's a beautiful picture. So you have to put the pieces together.
Let's talk about cysteamine. You've been having profusion for a long time. Do you think
Mm-hmm.
cysteamine is the future of lash lift and brow lamination because of its better safety for the bond?
Yes and no, really, with that. Cysteamine has great benefits for the hair, but it's scientifically proven to remain the natural integrity of the hair that was kind of there. It does take longer in most cases when you're using cysteamine products, not always. It does take longer in some cases. So if you have a client, and then of course, aftercare does help with keeping lashes more nourished, which keeps them looking better for the growth cycle as well. And of course, our natural lashes shed every 60 to 90 days. You are losing 1 to 5 lashes every single day, and you don't even know. So in 3 months, you're going to have new lashes, in a lot of the way across the lash line. And people love using cysteamine. The ones that love it, love it. They're like, that's it. I'm never changing again. This is it for me. The lashes are in a beautiful state, and they are. And I love it too. That's why we created Profusion, because we went, you know what? There is a market for people that will really benefit from using this kind of system. It's great for freestyle lash lifting as well, like, or relaxing lashes. Those kinds of benefits are great too, because it is that more gentle type of process. So a lot of benefits with it.
Yeah, I love cysteamine. The second I touch it, I was like, this is it. The fear of chemical burn, like
Mm,
the wait time of 6 to 8 weeks. For me,
mhm.
cysteamine solved the biggest issue that we had because I've been in the TGA formula for so long. Now I'm doing my lash lift on myself every month because
Yeah.
it's cysteamine. So I mean, membership. You can
Yes,
start
of course.
membership with this and double your revenue with the same client base. I'm gonna be a big talker about system, and I feel even when over curly lash lift, you need to reverse or uncurl.
Yes.
When you do with the TGA base, you need to really uncurl practically straight because in the next week it's gonna curl back a little bit. But if you're going with the system in base, you can just go straight to the curl you want and it's gonna be kept and beautiful and healthy. For me, it's mind-blowing. I'm in the
Mm.
system in for sure. Yes, maybe for those like even my clients who have really hard tree lashes, like tree, I feel like I'm
Hmm.
still doing system. I rather put more time
Hmm.
I put the minutes more, but I've turned
Yeah.
to the glueless technique.
Ah, yes. Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's where cystamine's great for doing that. Yes.
So what do you feel about glueless technique?
It's another way of doing it. It is technically it can be a little faster for some people. We've been, doing a lot of demonstrations at exhibitions showing it freestyle versus traditional. And we'll do one eye, the glueless freestyle technique, and one eye with traditional. And we'll stand there on stage and we'll go, okay, guys, let's spot the difference in the actual result at the end. It's very minimal. I feel you can stretch the lashes a little bit more with the freestyle technique. So from the base of the lash, if you get shield placement and all the application perfect, you can get quite a nice stretch on the outer corners. And I think that's great for people that have downward growth and direction happening on the outer corners because they need that lift to get the wow factor on the outer corners. There's definitely some advantages to it. Being careful you don't get lotion in the eyes. I mean, when you're putting the freestyle technique on, you do need to be quite careful about the skin around the eyeline area. So you've got to be watching your application, not packing it on. We're still dealing with a high pH product. And if that touches the skin, gets in the eye, even if it's cysteamine, you're still going to cause irritation. You could still have a reaction, right? So we have to be careful with our application there. But once you master how to do it, I think there's definitely benefits to it. So that's why we, show people as well that, you can do it this way, you can do it that way. And yeah, cysteamine is obviously the go-to. We've done lots of trials with using TGA doing freestyle as well, just to see. And we know it can be done, but obviously, the stretching of the lashes and all that sort of stuff we look at because we need to know the real performance of if we go down this path. And it can still be done, but it's not as safe. There's a lot more parameters you'd have to be looking at. And we do avoid the tips of the lashes with thio-based systems, usually because of the faster processing, more aggressive nature of it. And the tips are thinner, so they can process quicker. But it's an interesting world. When it comes to lash lift techniques, you could do a lot of different little techniques, but it's always going to come down to time versus the actual result we get. Ultimately, clients want to be happy. That's the holy grail of what we're shooting for. But the technician also wants to make it as fast as possible so that it's effective from a business point of view.
I have a hard time, even with the system in base, putting till the tip. It's just part of my ADNA from being lash tip artist. But can you really put till the tip and do all the time and it's going to be fine? Or there's still a risk of chemical burn?
Yeah, look, you can go to the tips. We've been doing that for years with our product. And I did some interesting scientific research under an SEM microscope with my lashes, a lot of my team's lashes, a lot of models. We put cysteamine based formulations on lashes for 30 minutes and let that process, and then we did thio based systems for 30 minutes on lashes, on my own lashes. You have to take your lashes off, mind you, because you can't put your own lashes in a SEM machine. It doesn't work that way. So SEM is a scanning electron microscope, and it allows you to get an image of the lash up to 4,000 times magnified. And when we look at the lash, you can see particles in there. You can see elements, like you can see carbon and magnesium. You can see lots of different elements that might be particles left in the lash, any debris, mascara, things like that, like all the finest of things. No matter how much you clean your lashes, you can still see organic matter basically that's on them. And then, so yeah, basically we left the cysteamine on for 30 minutes and we took an image of it and the lash was in perfect condition still. The lash that had thio on it for 30 minutes, well, the tips of the lashes started breaking apart.
Mm.
And I've got these images and I use them in some of my presentations. That was actually my own lashes, and yeah, it's interesting. It is for sure a real thing that thio continues to break down due to the pH, but also the type of acid that it is. Whereas the cysteamine tends to stop breaking down as much. It attaches to the NH2 amino groups and then sort of stops working as much. But you do have the pH with certain formulations. So it will depend on the formula and how it works. You could still technically over process a lash with a cysteamine based system because it's not just the cysteamine, it's the pH that we're dealing with as well, which is a real driving part of how these products actually work.
And I got that question later on today, and I think it will be great. Now, when you remove the perming lotion, does it keep breaking down? Like some people are saying you need to apply the step two so fast because even
Mm.
if you remove dry or humid removal, it keeps
Mm.
going.
Yeah, definitely with thio-based systems, there's internal absorption happening with that lotion. So when we dry wipe thio off the lashes, it's still within the lash processing. That's why we tend to use a damp cotton tip when we are removing step one with thio systems, because that water does help to sort of deactivate the process a little bit more. So yes, the answer is the thio can continue to process if you're not actually getting to it and removing it quite thoroughly. And then, of course, when we apply the setting lotion, the oxidation process is happening.
There's some controversy of opinions in the lash lift industry you would like to share your piece on. Mhm.
Look, I usually, don't like to get involved too much in that sort of stuff. I mean, there's always a lot of opinions flying around. I've been one of those people that has been here since the beginning with this evolution of lash lift. I've watched it come a long way. I've seen a lot of brands come and go. Elleebana was also very influential in a lot of places. And, we've worked with a lot of people. I went to America and trained a lot of people. They were using Elleebana and training with Elleebana. And then they went and started doing other brands, and other things as well. So we've been very influential there. And I'm just happy to be part of that. That's how the industry evolves. There's always going to be mixed opinions with people and formulations and what performs better. And that's business. That's not the lash industry, that's any industry. So I think, Elleebana has created this beautiful community where it is ethical, it's honest, we're transparent, and we're very supportive and passionate about working with lots of people in the industry and just supporting this movement. And grateful to be here.
Yeah. Okay. Have a spicy one. What do you think about DIY lash lift at home?
Oh, that's an
Woo!
interesting one. DIY lash lifts.
Hey,
Look, in
starting.
the hands of a professional, I mean, a lash artist that does lash lifts all the time, and you don't have time to go into the salon and get your own lashes lifted, and you're dying to get your own lashes lifted, well, it's fine because you're a professional. You know what you're doing. You're not going to hurt yourself. As far as DIY lash lifts as a whole in the industry to people that don't know what they're doing, it's extremely dangerous for people using high pH products with those kinds of acids on their eyes. All sorts of problems can happen. From a lot of the DIY lash lifts I've seen anyway online, the results didn't look as good as they look when you go and see a professional and let, a really good artist do the work. So I guess that's probably the thing with lash lifting at home. It's a bit of a safety issue, I think, as well. But, there is DIY lash extensions. That, on the other hand, that's been around for years and years. And I mean, that does work well for a lot of people because I think it's a different kind of process. DIY lashes, I think, no, I'm not a fan for DIY lash lifts. Sorry.
Yeah, and those DIY lash lift brands are selling to the public directly, sometimes
Mhm.
using the videos of lash lift masters. And then they promote their at-home product. This is really interesting. I've bought one for fun and I've done some TikTok videos about it because it was too funny. I opened the box and it said it's TGA based. No ingredients on any packaging. You need to go on the website because I was wondering if system and base would be better, but it was TGA based and
Mm.
it's safe. You can redo it every 2 weeks.
Wow. See, this is it. Look, I experimented with it years and years ago. I actually made some in a mascara tube. Like, there's been brands in Korea and places like that that did make DIY lash perms for at home. And the perm lotion was in a mascara tube and, setting lotion in a mascara tube. And you can easily hurt your eye, when you're playing with these lotions. It's a bit tricky, but there you go. You just gave a great example of how the education there clearly isn't giving you the right safety precautions to ensure that your lashes are going to be healthy and that you're not going to have issues.
It's like bleach. Everybody at some point is gonna know that you can chemically burn your lashes if you do it yourself. Like you said, I've done my lashes on myself a lot. I'm a professional and I've been getting lotion in my eyes. It's been burning. It's been quite messy to learn a way to doing well on myself, knowing the
Yep.
process. So
Yeah,
that's
that's right.
and I think for the lash lift technician hearing this, I think it's going to be a huge opportunity for everyone in the industry as professional to stand and show the safety of doing it with professionals. So I think it is an opportunity because there's going to be a lot of chemical burn. There's going to be a
Exactly.
lot, they're going to look for you. They're going to look for experts because what can you do when your lashes are burned? You cannot do mascara. I saw someone cut her lashes all over.
Wow.
Her
Yeah.
whole lash line was cut. I was like, "Where were your lashes? Are they cut?" And she said, "Yeah, I got a lash lift. It got burned." So I think everybody can do their hair at home. I think they're gonna understand the professional
Mhm.
value of it. So I do like those brands, those at-home brands, because they're paying massive ads payment to get the lash lift known. You don't
And
have
that's one way
to.
of looking at it, right? Of course, and it is an opportunity, like you said, for professionals out there to say, hey, you've seen the DIY lash lifts, but when you come and see me, you're going to get this result. Boom, and I think that is a huge opportunity for experienced artists to absolutely use that.
Exactly. So I really tell my community and the people like, don't be scared of that. It's fine. Let them. If your client saw the ads and she bought the kit and she's gonna do her lashes, let her. And maybe they're fine with having crisscross lashes, a little bit burned. Some people don't mind that. It's like not beautiful bleach hair, blonde that are not well bleached. We know some people doesn't
Yeah.
mind having that
Yeah.
orange color.
That's it. That's exactly right. Some people are a little more casual about that and not so worried. But, you and I know, and anyone listening to this knows that you got to go to the professional to get the best results for this.
That there's always
Yeah.
going to be a DIY market for everything anyways.
Yeah,
There's going
absolutely.
to be the people who doesn't want to play with that, and that's your clients.
That's right.
So we have some lash lift tech here listening, and they're just starting. Do you have
Hmm.
advice for them?
Yes. Well, that's a good question. When you're just starting out in the industry, I guess it could be overwhelming. There's so many brands. How do you choose a brand? And then also, how do you learn how to do this in the right way? So many great educators out there. And the answer is you've got to get out there and you've got to try. You've got to do training with different educators. You can knock on doors. Yeah. And you do need to try formulations. That comes with expense, obviously. First thing is to research heavily into brand or the products you want to use, look at the education they offer, the research they offer, and what is the reviews, what is the actual proof that these guys are a good option for you to learn great education from, and get yourself into the industry. And there it's a progression, right? But then if you're starting in business and you're wanting to get your salon going, I mean, that's a whole other beast, and that is about having a great business plan. And a lot of lash artists aren't business savvy in the same, some are, but some find it overwhelming, right? Because they're like, I want to do lashes and brows, and I love treatments, but having to do the accounting and the marketing, the social media, and my insurances and my day-to-day logistics of running a business, you have to learn how to wear those hats, and structuring your day and business plan and treatment strategy into a really good, structure so you're not overwhelmed. But they did get all of the things correct by mastering the art, obviously, getting those good results, getting the content of those great results so that you can show people what you do. You've got to create the portfolio. You've got to create the evidence so people can really see that's where I'm going to end up. That's the salon I'm going to. Look at that beautiful bed. Look at that beautiful treatment room. I'm going to be sitting in that bed getting my lashes done.
You're right.
Sorry.
It's a visual industry. So you need to be able to show picture, photo shoot is a big piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a lot of
Excellent.
advices for our queens here. That's amazing. So it's really go for it, try things. You're a masterpiece in progress and go fail and you're gonna learn and then
Mhm.
you're gonna do many things. It's super stimulating to start that. And I know you have a big network of salon owners. Do you have like a little story of someone, a woman in the lash lift industry who really stand out for you that you want to share here?
Um, that's a hard one. There's so many people that I've seen really succeed in this industry. I can think of one similar to the story I was kind of leaning into, where she studied aesthetics and was going okay with the skin side of things, but it just wasn't really taking off. And then she went and did training in lash lifting and lamination and really focused on lashes and brows essentially. And then, has created, and now she's got multiple salons, lash and brow bars. She just had that entrepreneurial spirit, but she started off in her own salon, really focusing on the lamination services. And she was like booked out solidly. I mean, she was doing like 7 lash lifts a day more. You're looking, if you're charging $100 per service. I mean, I know it varies from country to country and everything like that, but you're looking at around $3,500 a week just in income if you're sort of booked during the week. And that's not bad money for someone that's sort of starting out. And then to obviously expand on that when you add other team members into the mix and you can have a bigger space, that's when you start to see things really grow. But I've seen there is a lot more people doing it now, but if you can stand out and you're really good at what you do, you can make an amazing career out of being involved in this part of the industry. Yeah, it's pretty big what some people are doing.
Lash lift is a full-on career now. Beautician can only focus about that. I love that you have the example of 7 lash lift in a day. I've had fun calculating it. If it's $100 the lash lift, that's mean an annual salary of 182,000.
Mm, yeah, which is not bad for if you're a single operator and you're just sort of starting out and getting things building. And of course, that's just the lash lift. Aftercare products actually double the revenue. So if you're selling aftercare to most of your clients, you're probably looking at something more like 300K per year by the time you start to incorporate those things. So that's not bad for, a single operator. You do have expenses, of course, cost of product, your utilities that you need to take out of that, insurance, and, your time. But still, there's people out there that would be more than happy to be earning that kind of money each week.
It's amazing. I'm really all about showing lash lift as a six-figure career, which I've been told that I'm crazy, but I'm going to prove it.
Oh, for sure. Oh, it
Already
is.
there. We're just not talking about it. You already have so many people doing more than six figure per year as lash lift service technicians.
Yeah,
So
yeah, of course. And especially when you start adding team members in, so you can do multiple clients at the same time. If you expand your salons and you have, a couple of salons, you're definitely going to start looking into the millions of dollars in turnover if you're good at doing what you do. It's the reality.
I'm launching an event in June. It's a lash cash, and it's about making 100K per year doing just lashes, lash lift, you know?
Amazing.
We're doing
Amazing.
that in French in June, but my dream will be to do an international edition. So
Oh,
maybe
well,
I
you might
can.
have to come and see me in Australia, or, we do a lot of work in America and Europe as well. So, I mean, you're already over there, but I'm in America, quite a few times a year. And I think we're going to do something. I think we should. It would be rude not to.
Calling it in the new universe to do a Lash Cash international edition. Around
Hmm.
the podcast, I'm talking to all the master that I'm interviewing around the world that, we're doing a
Yes.
podcast, but it will be fun to meet and to bring all those like amazing hustler ballers of the industry in one
Yeah.
room and sharing not
Yes.
only, yes, techniques and everything, but the business, the money, the
Yes.
let's grow this. Like we're just at the beginning. Lash lift is still so unknown of the public, so unknown. I can not. Every day I meet people and I say that I'm in lash lift. They're like, "Wait, what is that?"
Yeah, that's exactly right. Same thing for me too. And I'll be flying all around the world, doing all the events that I do and, travel. And I'm constantly with drivers or people, and they're like, what is it you do? And yeah, we, create lash lift products and, we lift people's lashes and we do education of making someone feel good, and I think that's what we're all hooked into here in the beauty industry and in the lash world is getting that hit when your client just gets that wow factor and they say wow and you go wow and yes they're paying for it
Well,
but they're walking out the door feeling amazing, right? And it makes a huge difference. So I think that's what we're all really attracted to as well, that which is super cool, right? You've got your business side of it, which we've got to pay our bills, we've got to put food on the table, but we're making people feel good, and that emotion is highly addictive when you become a lash artist and you start teaching, or you're an educator, you're seeing people go out and start salons and incredible businesses, and you're like, wow, this is amazing. And that's the beauty industry.
yeah, it's a big hampering your clients. You're right. My favorite moment is when they take the mirror, they look at themselves, they're like, wow, that's my lashes. And they like cannot believe their lashes were that amazing because they couldn't see it, they were straight. Thank you so much. What a beautiful conversation for sure. The queens are amazed here. There was a lot of golden nuggets to learn from you. Where can the queens listening here follow you and stay up to date with yourself and what is Elleebana about?
Yeah, of course. Instagram's one of our best places where we share a lot of information, but also YouTube. So you can, follow Elleebana on Instagram, myself on Instagram, Otto Mitter, or our YouTube, Elleebana. We've been educating for so many years in this space. So there's a lot of great tips there and a lot of inspiration. That's where people can obviously see what's coming next. We're always working on new things, as you have to, as you evolve on your journey. So yeah, jump on in and see what we're up to there. And of course, if anyone's listening to that, they need any help or advice, I'm always happy to reach out to people. I have people DMing me most days, with questions about business, lash lift, all sorts of things. I enjoy that part of my job as well, as just really connecting with industry and helping people on this journey. I get a lot out of that. So yeah, don't be scared to reach out if you've got any questions.
I love how you're bringing the legacy of your mother in a worldwide platform because she's been really amazing. And what can a woman do in a whole country? And now you've brought that to a community worldwide. And this is really beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure to be here and speak with you. I love what you're doing with the industry and bringing us together and uniting everyone in this community, helping uplift the lift. So, yeah, it's amazing. And yeah, I'm looking forward to I'll chat with you again at some point soon, I'm sure.
Yay, amazing. Thank you so much.